What is up, folks? Casual Dad here with another Warhammer Combat Cards stream. Today we're going to have some fun. We are going to mess around with this limited campaign we've got here, the Battle of Pra'yen? Pra'yen? I don't know what to call it. Yeah, we're going to have some fun with this one because it is a Battle Scars modifier. So anytime you lose a card, that card is gone. And so I haven't completed any of these yet. I played one game, and so I've lost two cards already. Yuck. But yeah, so what that means is that for every subsequent round, you can't actually use the cards that have been destroyed previously in the same campaign. There is a free card you're getting, and so you do have your cards that are eligible for the bonus to give you a bonus to get you rack up those free copies more. And then for this campaign, in addition to that Battle Scars modifier, you also have maximum deck points, and all of the cards you have are maximum level. Now that's not going to give you any additional cards that you didn't already have in your collection, but it is going to give you the maximum level of the ones you've got. So, you got guys like this thing is just such an absolute beast at max level. So I'm excited to use him, but this is a chance to actually try everything out fully maxed, so I really like to mess around with these. So we're going to start, just to kind of see how some of these rounds go, with Grey Knights. And I'm going to play around a bit. I expect to win these, but I also expect to bleed cards pretty aggressively. So we're going to go with the Grey Knights. And we're going to try to do a full deck. Let's see here. Oh, that's a bummer losing those two. And that's the thing too. I don't want to lose any cards that are super valuable on this. But let's see how this turns out. Pure Grey Knights with Voldus' ability, where every time you deploy a card, all of your currently deployed cards get a percent bonus to their psychic attack stat. Is actually really, really powerful. And so I like playing with it, but it takes a really long time to level all of those cards, and so it's always just kind of a little bit middling in the mid-range. It's not bad, but it just doesn't stack up compared to others until you get really high level. With Voldus himself carrying a lot of the weight once you get up there. Let's see what I can fill this with. So we got all the Grey Knights. Let's see some bigger Grey Knights. We may fill with a non-Grey Knight. These are going to be cards I don't expect to really perform all that well later in the campaign. Ooh. Well, that went too far. Sorry, buddy. Ah, man, the really big ones. Okay. We got 53 left. Who got at 53? I mean, let's... Mephiston is that card that I said in my last meta review of the last season that if I saw Mephiston across the board from me, I expected to lose that game. So that's he's a really powerful card, but this is my kind of mess around deck, so I don't want to lose him. So you may see me do some stupid ploys just to not lose Mephiston. Now, the downside to having your deck maxed out in the campaign is that also the opposing deck will be maxed out as well. And it is Tau, so I'm going to get shot to ribbons. And it's Farsight especially, so he's got his... when he deploys, if he has any bodyguards left on the table, they heal back to full health, which is going to make this particularly challenging. Squishies on the left and middle, so I'm expecting the right to be a bigger drop, so I'm moving my Inspire guy... Oh yeah, okay. Moved my Inspire guy over to be a little bit less targeted. Start with the Medicae, that's a good start, and I'm fast enough to get the lead. Of course I want to do Psychic, and these guys hit like tanks because they have that max level Inspire from Crow, but then also, of course, because of Voldus' ability, giving me that plus 20% per deployed card. Ideally, I want to chainsaw through some of this stuff before I start taking any losses, but if his like base card is throwing out 80 damage, I probably am going to lose something pretty quickly here. But let's see it. Let's see how it goes. Just to kind of theorycraft a bit and talk through it, the best Space Marine decks to not lose cards are going to be your really small, hyper-aggressive ones. So, you saw me, I started with, oh shoot, what's his name? Santa. The Space Wolf character. Ooh, hello. Got duplicate cards, that's a bummer. And he's extremely good because he rewards really, really aggressive play with some very powerful cards. In most decks, if you have a small deck of really powerful cards, they hit really hard. Ah, crud, Farsight's going to come out and kill Crow. Yikes. But yeah, so in those really aggressive Space Wolf decks, oh, nuts. Because he's max level, so he lands for his max attack of 122. Ugh. Well, so much for those cards. Bye, guys. So I want to take him down as quickly as possible, and that was not cautious, but we'll see how this goes. I'll do you here, because you're going to do the most damage, second to Mephiston himself. He has base 100 damage, so he's going to hit insanely hard after I've got both of these guys down here. And they are too, because they've got that Brotherhood of Psychers max level. Yeah, 145, nice. He's also got a decent ranged attack, and he's got max level fear. So he's definitely reduced Farsight's attacks here. The biggest thing is when Farsight lands, he gets that heal, and he also gets his melee damage buff. But he used that, so he's a lot less dangerous now than he was when he dropped. But it cost me some cards, so I'm bleeding cards here. Going back to that, so the aggressive... Okay, so lost a board, but it could have been worse. Still, that's only round 2, so... yeah, so we'll go ahead and open that. Why not? We like rewards. Let's see what we got. Also in campaigns, the packs you get, just in case you didn't know this, they're themed with the 2 factions. So every card I'm going to pull in these packs is going to be Space Marine and or Tau, which is nice, because it means that your drops are a little bit more focused. So if you really focus which campaigns you want to win on your favorite factions, that's a really good way to progress in the game and level up your cards as quickly as possible. So I haven't lost any games yet, but I have been bleeding cards pretty aggressively. Losing Crow, that one hurts. Okay, so let's finish the conversation I was having about Santa here. So he really is extremely powerful in this. In most cases, if you have just a couple really powerful cards, they get stuck in lanes. And if they hit something with like shields or fear, they're not having an impact in the game, or endless. But with Santa's ability for damage to overflow, that makes him significantly more powerful with just a couple heavy hitting cards. So if you have him in like a 4-card deck with Dreadnoughts, that's a really powerful place to be with this modifier. Come on, there it is. But I'm going to go ahead and do a little super cautious Acheran. I do think against another max level deck, against Tau, I think that Artemis would normally be your best bet, but with Battle Scars, that's a huge, huge downside because he relies on a full deck of cards that you expect to lose a lot of them, so you keep playing to benefit from his ability. So we're going to go ahead and do Acheran. Nah, he doesn't do the bonus. Let's do a little bit more. But I can do a bigger deck, because if I do Santa, it's going to be a much smaller deck. I'm sorry, I should stop calling him Santa. That's Logan Grimnar. He's a venerable hero of the Space Wolves chapter. He looks like Santa. What do you got, buddy? Come on, there we go. Santa. He's on a sleigh. I love it. It's pulled by rain wolves. Okay. So I'm just kind of thinking about this. We got max level cards. I'm going to end near the bottom because I want cards that can take a hit. I am actually going to go with my instinct. So if you actually want to get all the way through this campaign and win it without losing a ton of cards, I do recommend going with Logan with a really hard hitting... Well, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. So my instinct is it's going to be Logan and it's going to be Acheran are the 2 that are going to be your best. Because Logan does the most damage to chew through and does really well with a very small, durable deck. And then Acheran, of course, has is you have to kill his cards twice. So he's incredibly durable. We're going to load... I'm going to throw in my heavy hitters here. Looking to get a nice big bonus. And like I was saying, you want those cards. Yeah. So he's got lots of health. He's got max regen. Oh man, I got 3 points over. How's your melee stat? Not good. Okay, we're not doing that. How's your melee stat? That's better, but still not great. I'm going to go ahead and keep the 3 extra unspent points because I don't want to lose a 3-point card just for the hell of it. So we'll see how this goes. I do know that Tau have a lot of big game hunter and target acquired, and those could be nasty surprises that can just be bad luck in campaigns like this. But the big thing to keep in mind is this is a fun time to experiment with your max level decks. There it is, big game hunter. Oh. Yuck. Okay, so here's the thought process behind this. I don't want to lose Mephiston. I don't want to lose my Rage Bot either, but I do think that the Regen Dreadnought is going to be incredibly powerful in an Acheran deck later. So I'm actually going to go ahead and sacrifice this guy. Which doesn't feel good, but... Ooh, well, actually, hang on. Yeah, not enough. Oh, and he's epic, so he doesn't even get the maximum level Furious Charge. He is almost certainly going to die here, although maybe not, actually. He could tank that. But it makes him extremely flimsy for the follow-up. Max level shields, gross. Gross. Oh, yuck. Yeah, so this is a crazy time. You want to look at those epics especially because they will have those rank 2 secondary traits, which are just incredibly powerful. And then, of course, your legendaries will have your 2 max level traits, so of level 4 of 2 traits. And those will be full because you're running max level cards. This is already bad. I've got a wall of shields. This is exactly the worst thing that Logan could possibly face, especially in a... Well, actually, that could be a lot worse. Because it's Shaz-O, when he deploys, he's not going to heal his board, and that's big. And that's shields down on that thing. But, and I'm actually going to play a little bit more cautious here. So switch off turns where you're not going to take damage back. Especially because he's got that boosted damage output, I don't want to take a hit right now. And that gives my Dreadnought a chance to recharge a little bit, although it's not going to matter against this thing for long. Woof. But still, this works out relatively well. I may actually be able to get a board wipe here. And then I need to worry about Shaz-O, because Shaz-O... No, I'm not going to get a board wipe. Who am I kidding? That thing's got 400 health. But I may be able to do quite a bit of damage here. Ooh, some overflow, yeah. Which is good. Oh no. And I lose Logan. No. Okay, so that didn't work out. I'm going to lose this match. Round 3 and I'm down, folks. Yikes. I was getting to that point. So one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this campaign, because it is Battle Scars, and this type of campaign no less, because it's one of these elimination ones where you're going through the progression bar and not the energy charges, it starts off at maximum difficulty. You're going to see a little bit of an uptick in difficulty just throughout, just because there are going to be some sort of peak turns like we see here. But really it's going to be fairly level throughout, so you're going to start taking losses right away. And since you can't reuse cards that you lose, bummer, expect not to get all the way through it. And that's really, really important going into this, because you don't want to get frustrated when you think that you're going to get all the way through it and then you don't. Like, if you get close, yeah, you're going to feel good about it, but assume you're not going to get those Njal cards, and this will be a lot easier to take, because this is going to be an extremely difficult campaign, no matter what you do. So we're going to do Acheran and Shields, and I'm really going to ruin someone's day. And I want to start with really powerful ones, because, again, the goal is not to lose cards. So what's the scariest shields card? I needed no shields. Ooh, but he's got regen. Ooh, yeah. I'll throw him in there. May regret it, but you know what? That area effect will help clear those shields. He is very expensive and very durable, and that regen helps put him over the edge. Then we've also got some shields. What do we got here? We've got a Psyker in here. Oh, yeah. Max level shields and Psychic. Psychic is also particularly good against Tau because they have none. Little big game hunter in there with the shields. Big game hunter to do extra damage to those beefy guys. You know, fear is really good here, especially with Acheran. Especially max level fear. But let me see what else I got here. One of those shields. This guy is excellent. And he's one I like, but could stand to lose. It's not going to ruin my day if I lose him. And then we're filling with 23. Oh, perfect. Leodrak. Nice. Alright, so heavy shields, heavy psychic. I'm going to lean on these two to get through these enemy decks. And this is the thing. Taunt would... You do want to throw in your Blade of Taunts in these games. Just use them sparingly, because each time you use a taunt, you'll only get to use it once, because it's guaranteed to die. I do appreciate that it's Shaz-O, because again, that healing is... so there are ups and downs to that. The up on Shaz-O is that when he drops, he's not going to heal his remaining bodyguard, so if it's something really beefy, you have a chance to kind of... There we go, my Blade of card. You've got a chance to plink it down before... the bodyguards won't heal when he comes back in play, so if you have something mostly damaged, you don't have to worry about killing it before the Warlord drops, which is nice. The downside is that Shaz-O's ability triggers all game. So he's going to be giving passive buffs to his entire deck every single round. I would argue that Shaz-O is actually the most powerful of all of the Tau Warlords just because of that, because Tau decks really lean on those incredibly powerful cards especially in shooting, and just getting flat bonuses to range damage every couple turns is just absolutely insane. And then he himself has really good stats and shields. So if you get a high-level Chazeau, it's a good day. The downside to him, of course, though, is he's epic. He's epic, rare drops, so it takes an extremely long time to level the guy up. But even while you're waiting on that, even if he's level 2, he's still an incredibly powerful card who will definitely benefit you in the process of while you're getting him maxed. This went pretty well. Ooh, Acheran, you little evil angel. So you saw that this guy was about to die, and I was already writing him off, and then I realized that I'm running Acheran here. So he's got the damage reduction. We'll see if that's enough to save this guy on the right. It was. Bummer. But yeah, so far I'm only going to lose one card, which is great. Let's take Tyberos' shields are holding for the moment, so nice. I'm going to get him away from that thing. Alright, so far so good. So again, heavy shields, heavy psychic. You get the area effect psychic on a really tough platform so that you can clear shields, deal some extra damage, and have something with regen in there so that it can, even if it dies once, as long as you're able to keep it relatively out of danger, it can then come right back and regen all the way. So I got this one with losing only one card. Good. I'll just have to figure out what to replace that card with. Oh yeah, let's punch him. That does show off just how good Tor is, so if you don't want to lean on Psychic, you absolutely can not. And Tor Garradon is an excellent, excellent choice in this if you're going to be hitting that Riptide. Okay, so that's good. So let's keep going. Let's see how far this goes. And this may be a slightly longer video just because I'm going to keep going until I lose, but I expect that's not actually going to take long because these games are quite quick. So I've got 26 points to play with. I want to either use shields. You know what, let's go ahead and throw this out there. Throw in some poison, ooh, and some healing. I'm probably going to lose this guy in one round, but we'll see how it goes. Poison is one of my absolute favorite traits, and at trait 3 or above, it's really, really powerful, especially against shielded cards, and this guy's going to have trait 4. So those cards are really going to bleed wounds real fast. So if I hit something durable, whether it's shielded or not, that'll really help even the odds. Downside is he's probably going to poison something and then immediately die. Okay, Shadow Sun. So here's the concern here. As I'm looking at the card count of cards remaining, I want to be really careful when we get to that last batch, because again, if I have like a Riptide on 10 health or something, if I accidentally pull Shadow Sun before I kill it, then that is really, really going to ruin my day, because it will fully heal that Riptide back to full health. And he's unshielded, and I really want to keep him alive, so I'll go ahead and drop that healer early. Woof. There's 3 shields down on this guy in the first engagement. Ouch. But he's kind of ablative, so losing him won't be the worst thing in the world until I run out of shielded cards. And even then, if I lean on Fear and Regen, I can at least slow this down enough to the point where I can limit the loss of cards. I do think Acheran is going to be your best bet in this deck if you don't want to lose, in this campaign rather, if you don't want to lose cards. No surprise there. And that's a nice kind of gimme to the newer players, because they're pretty much guaranteed to have Acheran where they may not have the others. Yeah, let's punch it again. Just that quick bit of advice, it's good to mix up your attack types. If you can get a lethal hit on your off main, so like this is heavy, I'm leaning on my Psychic. Nice. So target acquire dropping there could not have been better. Could have been better if it was 1 over and prevented this thing from getting a clean shot at my Dreadnought. That would have been good. But I will get to shuffle here. Nice. And Acheran's ability coming in clutch there to tank 1 extra hit. And here's again where I have to start being careful, and I actually didn't fully consider that drop, because if I get 2 kills, then Shadow Sun's going to drop. Okay, good. So I'll at least kill both of those. Oh, that hurts. The other thing to keep in mind about Shadow Sun is she also shoots when she drops, and shoots for a lot. So I'm about to lose my Dreadnought. Poor planning on my part. Oh, gross. And he may actually be able to punch through those shields to actually kill Tigurius. Woof. Because he's got Big Game Hunter, really high attack stat, and he's going to get an additional attack bonus from Shadow Sun. Because she's got Inspire, and when she drops, she also gives a plus 20 ranged attack bonus to both of her squad mates, which doesn't apply to the one who doesn't have a ranged attack. Awesome. That's funny. So I put Leodrak to me by a Blade of card, and he's going to live, and my Dreadnought's not. I should have considered that with my redeployments. Ooh, gross. Alright, so this is the time to be extremely careful here. Oof. Shadow Sun herself heading for 144. She's probably going to... I think I've got this. Because she's going to probably take down my shields. Yeah, I've got it. And then drop Tigurius onto his last cat life. But he will still be alive to shoot back in Psychic. Oh, nice. Not even then. So I've actually got 2 more turns with Tigurius, so that was actually not bad, aside from losing the Dreadnought, of course. Alright. So, I saw a couple folks commenting before in my clan that we're definitely bleeding cards on this more quickly than some of the other previous campaigns. So I don't expect to get that far, but I'm going to keep going and see how far we get. And who knows, maybe in the last couple rounds when I'm kind of desperate, I'll discover something amazing that I hadn't considered. Woof. Okay, so I've got 78. I'm going to go ahead and remove this guy and see what else I can put in here. So I need to replace the Dreadnought, at least that kind of role in the deck. Don't think I have any regen in this. Ooh, let's do that. And I'm starting kind of off meta. I'm not picking the things that are maybe the most powerful entirely because I expect to lose most of them. So I could do 53. Yeah, that's not really what I'm going to want to go for. Tigurius still being my lead puncher. I'm still going to lean on Psychic pretty heavily, and the other attack, so on melee, I'll do a little bit, and then ranged is going to be defensive, so I'll place cards to shoot back. Let's see here. And then we're going to kind of muck around a bit and a little bit later. Let's see. Oh, he's got max regen and Furious Charge. Ooh, that's good. We're going to swap you out for now. Doesn't have any kind of defensive ability, so that's a little unfortunate. That's right in there too, Nero. So we're going to make this more melee heavy. It's going to punch harder before Tigurius is deployed, and then Tigurius is going to be the finisher. But even saying that, I realized that to hold a card in your hand is assuming the cards you play are going to die, so that's definitely something I don't want. Oh no, it's against Onva. Of course I go melee heavy against the guy that'll benefit from getting punched. So even as I was thinking that, I do have a lot of melee cards. I'm hoping not to use them. So I've got Tigurius out, and he's going to do as much psychic damage as he can. Oh, gross. Okay. And now, this is... I'm being really careful with that Furious Charge, because when I do Furious Charge, I'm going to hit very, very hard. And if the card I hit survives, they get a giant bonus to their melee, because this is Onva. Likewise with shooting, but my shooting isn't quite as impressive. So you saw there, this wimpy little card is now hitting basically like a low-level Riptide. And then we have Taunt. Alright, buddy. A little debuff, play a little cautious here. Bleeding shields, but not doing bad. Wow, he's got an absolutely enormous deck. Okay, well that's going to be a problem. And you saw that already swing wildly between like a very small deck that I think had a total of 7 cards, versus this one, which already has, I think, 11. So you're seeing some definite differences between rounds. And I can freely hit with Psychic because they don't have Psychic, so Onva's ability doesn't trigger or benefit anyone, because they have no Psychic attack to beef. Acheran, you angel. That is really good, so that you are going to lose cards, but you won't lose anywhere near as many because of Acheran as you would otherwise. Max level Tigurius, how much melee do you do? Enough. Wow, look at that. What is this based? Wow, 30. Dang. Okay. There's at least one level in there that bumps his melee stat completely unnecessarily. So I have yet to lose a card, making steady progress here, so I haven't had anything that I've been buffing up too much. This is good, because Onva, I would worry about him having something really beefy that can take a lot of hits, that then could get really, really impressive damage output. And these guys still hit pretty freaking hard, as shown there. But nowhere near as hard as some of the stuff I could see here. And again, I want to be careful with that Furious Charge. That guy doesn't hit very hard at all. Nice. Oof. Now he gets harder. We can do that. Then we get some debuffs on the board too. That's really good as well against Onva. So I'm beefing the debuff and not attacking him with something he can charge on is really good against Onva because it does let you attack with advantage. So you're hitting harder. So you're taking weaker hits and hitting them back harder without giving them the benefit of increasing their attack stats. Ooh. I need to kill this Inspire. But you know what? We're going to play it safe. Because I've still got Tyberos on the board. He's going to be on the board. I can hopefully Psychic away Onva and rely on defense here. Oh, God, that's so much Inspire. It's funny. All three of these guys have max level Inspire. Ooh, ouch. But the advantage of them having shields is that I can hit them without them getting more powerful. So it's actually a lot better that these guys are shielded for now, especially since I can keep leaning on these psychic attacks. This also shows just how absurdly powerful Tyberos is in Acheran decks, or just in general, because he hasn't even taken any health damage, let alone gotten to his second life with Acheran. Tyberos, I think, is a card that may be a little bit too powerful, especially, of course, at max level. Oh, look at that second life. I love it. But that is a small reprieve. I don't love it. The second trait is an arguably fairly toxic trait. Alright, let me do the math on that. That's not enough to kill him. Meh. And he doesn't have enough to actually kill Arjak Pack, so that's okay. So I will probably lose. I'm going to lose Agatone. But then I've got him. And the card bleed continues. And this is the point where I've established kind of a decent and very effective core of cards. It is kind of the point where I may consider starting to put in my taunt cards just to keep my working deck alive for a little bit longer. Uh-oh. Even if that means giving up at least one taunt card every game. And it may not. I may get lucky and end up with my shields carrying me through an entire game. Oh, thank goodness. That would be a real bummer to have that. Oh, and he went psychic. Oh, did he just give me my card? Oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes you get lucky with the AI where it'll do something like that, because if it does the attack that you worry it's going to do, it'll be lethal, and that will actually cost it the game. Sometimes they'll do it. But I got lucky there, so that actually saved Agatone, so I only lost the one card. Nice. That was very effective. Sweet. And that is a deck I was concerned about because it was so big. I expected to see quite a few scary cards sort of mixed in there that would take a while to chew through and would be benefiting from Onva's cranking up the whole time. But Acheran and a little regen helped carry me through the end there. It's kind of clicking wildly because I've got some lag here. Okay, so we'll clear that. So we still have 27 points. Let's see what else we can put in there. And again, I'm going to look for those like B or C tier cards that may prove to be extremely powerful. Ooh, that's a nice defensive one. Do I want to save that for Tolmaron? No. Tolmaron relies on a lot of cards dying, so I don't really want to... I don't think I'm going to try Tolmaron in this at all, unless I just really want to see what a max level Tolmaron deck can do. I could see once I start losing these cards, doing an Acheran deck, assuming I don't lose Acheran, that instead of being very heavy on Psychic and leaning on Tyberos, leans on Ranged. Because this guy... We'll see what else I can put there. Okay, so I don't really want to put a shield there. And just to recap that, I did kind of put this guy in here expecting to lose it. It's sort of my taunt defensive card. But we'll see. Maybe he does great. And this, contrary to the last deck, instead of being 11 bodyguards, he's only got a total of 5. So whatever is behind this is going to be very hard hitting. And I'm going to find out what it is. And there I probably should have gone Psychic, just to get a little bit of the healing back and to avoid taking that melee on this middle card. Oh boy, okay. And here we're at that situation where I'm almost guaranteed to kill that middle card and then pull Farsight, which is going to heal both of his other cards. And then he'll probably immediately kill my turret in the middle. And that's good and bad. It's bad, obviously, because I'm losing that card really quickly, but it's good because it means that I don't have a lot to slog through that will cost me cards. There goes Agatone. I really kind of counted Agatone as out in the last game, so him being alive in this one was just kind of a bonus. But I probably could have played this without losing him. So, let that be a lesson to you. If you're following along and plan to do better, okay, good. He doesn't cost 40. If he cost 40, I would not want to put him in front of this guy with Big Game Hunter. And you are toast now, buddy. Comfortably toast. I could probably melee him at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and Psychic him. Pretty close. So lost 2 cards again. One of them one I had expected to lose last game, but could have kept this game had I played a little more careful. Had I gone ahead and deployed all my shields in the beginning, that probably would have been better there, and then I wouldn't have lost that gunboat, but that's okay. And when I talk about experimenting with max level cards, one of the big things here is that in this game it takes a while to build up your cards, and you do kind of have to choose where you want to invest when, and what kind of builds you want to go for. So getting to see these cards at their absolute peak in action is awesome, because you get a much better idea of what you kind of want to work towards, and what you don't want to work towards, of course. So 53, kind of looked in that range. I'm going to start mixing in some fear. 54, yikes. Do we bring this Dreadnought in? Yeah, why not? He's still got good melee and a lot of hit points. Leaves us with 4. Is there anything at 4 we don't care about too much? I think there's only one 4-cost card in the entire Space Marine faction. No, there isn't one. Alright, there we go. And in many ways, this Dreadnought stands in for where that cannon guy from last game did, but not quite the same. So I'm going to be... Alright, so Darkstrider, ooh, bummer. Who anytime a card moves after the first round of deployment, it will then do a shooting attack against whatever targets it was pointed at before it moved. So it's a really powerful ability. One of my favorites. I really enjoy playing with Darkstrider. The good news for me is that Darkstrider himself is pretty flimsy, and so I expect to be able to take him out at the end game with whatever bodyguards I have left facing him down without too much trouble. Another great thing about seeing cards as, or seeing decks as big as these ones are, is that, oh, nuts. I can pretty much guarantee that whatever's left in that deck isn't all that dangerous because you just can't fit it in there. Even in these max level campaigns with max deck sizes, they don't just get magical super decks. Most of the time. Yeah, target acquired really gets you, but I'm glad it was, of all the cards it could have been for target acquired, that was the best option. Another great thing here is Darkstrider's ability is really, really good, but the AI never moves cards. If it has the option not to, it's not going to. So the only time that's going to come into play is when Darkstrider himself deploys, which is great. And even though I'm going to lose it, this Dreadnought has been very effective here. Yikes. How bad do I want to kill what? And Darkstrider's another warlord. I don't have to worry about him healing his bodyguards when he deploys. So, dang, okay. This does go to show how impactful some of the cheaper Tau cards can be. So even though it's a big deck and I have to worry about it less than others, I do still have to worry about it. Dead. And I'm keeping Tigurius in the middle, even though he's a little bit weaker, because again, Darkstrider himself is not terribly scary. He still has almost 200 hit points and his second life, so hopefully I won't lose. So, okay. That's what you get for saying that out loud, buddy. That is, and there goes Tyberos. So that's going to speed this run up considerably. So I have to get a little bit weird for the next couple rounds. Yeah. So it is my turn. I'm checking my little shield there in the bottom. I have almost max melee boost. Not nowhere close to max. I have a big melee boost. And cards with really high melee attack. So I may be able to one-shot him here. If I can't... yeah, that's fine. This, a max level max level long strike is just absolutely insane. He may be able to punch straight through the shields on pretty much any one of my cards. But it was particularly unfortunate that he happened to drop to take out Tyberos. I should have seen that coming better. And if you're watching this, you probably were like, "Oh, bro, you're gonna eat those words." So my bad. And if you said that, you were right. Well done. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this deck built. I'm gonna mix it up a bit, just kind of muck around. I'm definitely getting these bonus cards. That's a big advantage here because the free cards usually take a long time to ramp up because the first, like if you're doing the energy drawdown campaigns, you're playing against teeny tiny decks and it takes a really long time to build these up. But against these max level ones, they're huge, so you get lots of cards real quick. So we are going to mix this up. We're going to get weird right away. I'm going to go ahead and run my buddy Helbrecht. And I'm trying to get just a complete and absolute rollover. I am going to lean on my heavier, more powerful melee cards here. Yeah, we're going to do these ones. Yeah. Because I have already lost Logan. So I can be a little bit more aggressive with which cards I'm using. But also kind of keeping in mind which cards I want to have later. So I don't want to give up all of my best cards. Just kind of mucking around. Oh yeah, that'll help. There we go. Get a little healing in there. Sweet. And so I've got some really powerful cards here with... you may hear some chat messages come in. Don't worry about that. So I've got some really powerful cards in here that are very durable with the heal and with a snowballing damage. So as I get kills, my cards will just start getting crazy amounts of additional damage. Just because every time I get a melee kill, it'll give a flat 15% attack buff to my entire board. And it stacks. So if I get a couple melee kills, the cards that I have on the board are going to become completely overwhelming. Even potentially through shields. So we're going to go for this, and we're against Shadow Sun with a small dex. Which is good and bad. Good because it means that I don't have to punch through that much to get to Shadow Sun. Bad because it does mean that Shadow Sun herself is going to drop before I've built up my overwhelming death ball. And bad as well because it means that the next row of cards is going to be very durable and also going to have Big Game Hunter. More than likely. Well, only one, so that's could be a lot worse. Could be better. So we're just going to keep wailing on these things. And so that next card is going to drop right in front of Asterath, who has insane hit points and max fear, so that is good. This should still go well, but I don't expect to do this without losing any... What even is that? I've never even seen that card. Okay, alright. Doesn't have Big Game Hunter, but does have a lot of damage and a lot of health. But Asterath, max fear. So that was probably the best possible place for him to land. Just keep on wailing on these guys. Except, I need to remember... Okay, so that is good. This guy on the right is probably going to survive. And it's his turn. We're going to do it. We're going to get crazy. Alright, Helbrecht, show me what you got. Nice, okay. Ooh, it's a lot of damage. And his Furious Charge is going to kill that guy and also give that 15% buff. Range shooting back. This guy will kill that guy, which also is good. It is very unlikely that Shadow Sun's going to be able to kill Helbrecht in one go. Not impossible, though. That would be my worst case scenario here. But if she doesn't, my return fire should easily take her down. Oh, and it's my turn. Look at that. That was the other great thing about being gutsy there, is I was able to do that much of an aggressive turn on his turn. Yeah, that went well. So I lost my healer, but that could have been significantly worse. And there's another healer that's a little bit cheaper. Let's do that again. And again, I mentioned that I lost Logan, so I'm being a little bit more aggressive with my heavy melee cards, because Astaroth is really, truly best in a deck that leans hard on melee. And just not as good in some of the other options. He's still extremely powerful, but he's best with Logan, and... well, actually, he's best with Helbrecht, and then second best with Logan. Alright, so what do we got? We got another healer. Where are you, buddy? There you are. And that leaves us with 5, but yeah, why not? Getting a little crazy here. So my biggest focus is I want to get the free cards. Arjak is a really powerful card. Mine isn't terribly well leveled. And so my Marines, several of my Marine decks are held up by not having that kind of extra shield melee guy in there. It would be really nice to have as many of those as I can, because he's also epic, so he takes a really long time to level. Well, this is going to get me a lot of cards, but this is a really big Shazo deck. Oh, come on. Which is not good. Just because it's going to take so much to go through. I think I'm seeing the animations again, so we should pop back in there in a minute. I don't usually have this many connection issues. There must be a lot of people playing this right now. Or it's the giant storm that's leveled half the state. That's not funny. Well, it is funny because it hasn't actually leveled half the state. It's just been pretty wild here. We're in the south. It's been a nice warm week here, just with a whole lot of rain. But we have been lucky to avoid some of the worst of the cold. And I'm going to be stubborn about this. If this was a ladder match, oh, thank goodness. If this was a ladder match, I would have just gone ahead and quit. But since this one, I get strikes and I would lose. If you do quit in the middle of one of these and it registers that quit, you will lose every card you had deployed. Warlord, bodyguards, everything, whether they were actually on the board or not. So you don't want to do that. We got to switch it up here. And hopefully we don't have any more of those connection hiccups. He's going first. That's a bummer. That's nice. Wow, you hit hard, buddy. And that's the thing. Astaroth is really durable and hits so hard that he's very likely to get those... oh, nuts. He's really likely to get those damage buffs that you really want on the rest of your deck. That's okay. Target acquired isn't bad on melee. We'll see how bad the ranged is in the next one, because the next one's going to be extra hard shooting. Okay, that could have been a lot worse. Still not great, but could have been a lot worse. Now, downside here is Astaroth doesn't have an extra life, so now I need to be really careful with him so as not to lose him. But at the same time, if he's going to hit me for 9, I'm just going to go ahead and punch him as hard as I can. Man, that target acquired. Now, that is the downside, and this is something to keep in mind as you're playing this. The downside to having really hard-hitting cards that you don't want to lose is they're the ones that are clearing enemy cards, so they're the ones the most surprises are going to be deployed against, obviously. Of course, this should be no surprise, but got to talk about it. So again, Astaroth is the one who got the kill in that lineup, so he's going to get the next horribly scary thing. Great, and that's almost certainly going to kill him. Wow, that thing is really good at max level. I mean, well, now he's got Fear, but he's a really powerful card at max level. I hadn't considered that. Oh. Well, that's bad. I'm glad I was using mostly ablative cards, because that was an unexpected board wipe. So we have our healer, which is good. We have Helbrecht himself, which is good. Now here I'm a little bit torn. I was thinking, really, it's going to kill whatever I put in front of it, and will eventually kill Helbrecht. So as much as I would rather lose the 5-point scout than the healer, I need to tank a couple more hits than I could do with the healer alone. So I ended up having to do that. So he's probably going to shoot me again. Yuck, that's a lot of damage. It's also a lot of damage. But I need to get those shields through. Okay, so debuff when ranged is really good there. So I'm going to activate a couple times and use my defensive hits to take down his shields. Oh, gross. And there is that incredibly powerful Shazo in action. Getting that, what is it, a 40% damage boost? Yeah, for ranged attacks. Ooh, so powerful. But the good news is that my return fire took out 2 of those shields. He's only got 1 left. And if I can hit him with his shields down, I should be able to kill him. Or I may be about to lose Helbrecht. But I hope not. Fingers crossed. Oh, oh no! By 1. Yeah, he's got me. There goes Helbrecht. Yuck. And his ranged attack is so high, and it's going to go up next turn too, so I'm going to do it. So there goes Helbrecht. I thought I had him by... Oh no, it's even worse because of his damage resistance. I didn't even realize that. Of course, he's got low damage buff, high damage buff, damage resistance. Oof, so that was a wipe. Well, there you go, that was short-lived. Okay, who else do we have left to kind of just muck around for a bit? I'm going to see how high I get. I would love to get at least these Ragnar copies, but I'm very unlikely to get it. And it's only... It's a bit of a bummer that getting all the way through the end of this just gives you a single Njal copy. Njal is extremely good, and 1 copy of him is good, but it still feels a little bit lackluster for the amount of damage you have to get through to get there. And I would love to hear from anyone who actually does make it all the way to the end somehow, because this is a pretty remarkable campaign. Okay, so we've got 2 warlords down. Let's do a little Voldus again. That was a real bummer losing him. And we're going to go ahead and yawl it. Excuse me. Just because I think that the other cards are just going to be better in other decks. You know what? Why not? We're going to Tolmer on it. Just to see it. Because again, I'm probably not going heavy ranged with any of the other warlords, although it could work to do really heavy ranged attack with Acheran. Point of interest here, this guy is one I actually really like putting in my Tolmeron decks, because he already has a really high ranged attack, has that attack on drop, which is a much more aggressive than most Tolmeron cards, has a lot of hit points, and also has both Psychic and Melee. He's one of the most expensive Space Marine cards, but he's really pretty darn close to the flyer that most people use already. So yeah, I actually sub him in instead of this guy in a fair amount of my decks, but my Andronicus isn't terribly well leveled, and I don't play Tolmeron that much, so don't take that too much to heart. Yeah, a little outflank, a little of that. Yeah, I'll get a little 23 in here. Let's slap a shield in there. If I have any left at that price point. I do. Leodrak, I am shocked that you're still here. Although, hey, that's the value of shields. And as much as I like Tolmeron, I do fully expect to lose this. I'm probably going to lose Tolmeron in my first run with this one. And I may actually have to spend some plasma to reset my strikes. But that is worth it, because the reset is less than I would pay for a couple copies of Arjak. So that's just kind of a cost analysis thing to keep in mind. But, oh, yuck. And it's a Shazo deck and a big one. So that's not good. That was a mistake. You want to keep your barrage cards adjacent to the shields. And I did not do that. Ooh, that was a lot of damage. That also was a mistake. Had I put him down there earlier, his attack on drop would have been enough to actually kill that guy. Not that it made that much difference, because I killed him in return fire. And I would have. Dang, okay, I messed that up. Never mind. Because I could have cleared that. So play him earlier so that he then gets the ranged offensive buff from deploying the other cards next. And then he would have been able to take out both copies of this right then. Wow, this thing at max level is really terrifying. Oh, come on. And I should expect that. Every other deck at least has had a target acquired in it. And if you run a small deck, one of your cards is going to get hit with target acquired. But that one hits back so hard. Oh, that's fantastic. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm going to punch through some of these shields. Probably didn't want to do that, but did it anyway. So I'm about to lose this really scary card. Can you wrap this up, Tolmaron? Do you have what it takes? That's a no. For the record, in case you didn't catch that, that's a no. I do not have what it takes with Tolmaron. There may be something there, but Tolmaron, I don't think his ability is really conducive to this one because he wants to shoot, and he wants cards to serve. He wants cards to die. Not exactly that, plain and simple, but he wants to continue playing cards because his ability triggers on the number of cards you play. Likewise for Voldus, but Voldus has the advantage that it's psychic, which the Tau don't have. Ooh, gross. And then also that it is that he himself has really exceptional stats, where Tolmaron, even at max level, is just not a very impressive warlord. But that's not the point. You don't really want him to do anything on the board. His biggest advantage is getting that secondary trait of Inspire so that his bodyguards can finish the job once he's out. Okay. What did I say with Voldus? We're going to go do Voldus. Okay, we still have a couple Psychers in there. And we'll use the other B and C team Psychers. There you go, buddy. In some ways, he's actually a better Psyker than the sort of main ones. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? Psychic. Ooh, getting a little thin, y'all. Thin. 44 turns out to be exactly enough for this guy. Ooh, and he got secondary fear. Yeah. But we're going to put in Arjack for the extra defense. Having seen what terrible things happen to my shieldless decks. But yeah, going up against an entire board that can throw out like 160 range damage, just one after the other, it is very unlikely that most of your decks are going to be able to weather that. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the math this time. So this guy gets 73, 61. So these guys will... So he has the most on drop. He's got the highest psychic damage shield, so I'm not going to waste it over there. So we're going to go ahead and put... Trying to see if I can buff this guy enough. And I should be able to, because his base is so high that he can actually do a lethal shot on landing. Will he do it? 106. No, didn't make it. 73 didn't make it either. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. I'm throwing some endless cards in there. That's just me and Shazo. Because they're still hitting back really, really hard. Getting the offensive bonus of his ability. Ugh, shields. Yikes. So yeah, this campaign is definitely designed to be challenging. And it is, in fact, challenging. Especially once you start losing cards. Goodness. Gotta watch yourself. I was literally just thinking, haven't lost any cards yet, and then immediately lost one, so hey, that's my bad. Oh, that's good stuff. Oof. Max level Inspire. His area effect blast is going to be just insane. And it was quite satisfying. And these guys are now doing enough damage to punch a little through shields and got his shields down. Y'all should survive this. Oh, thank goodness on that. Target acquired. And actually, no. I was going to say the Epistolary is going to survive too, but no, those guys do enough damage, they'll easily mop him up. So he does 100, he does 90. I'm trying to see where to put y'all. 97. Okay, well, that made it pretty easy. And that was a mistake. I should have put this guy down earlier. You really, when you're playing in the ladder with Voldus, you actually want to play Voldus instead. Wow, did that just hit for 52? Whoa! Okay. Do this to recharge get us a small bonus on our psychic attack. No, still debuffed. Brutal. I said whoa because I know Njal is powerful, but that was like 60 damage and area effect. That's crazy. And he's about to die. Great. Thanks, buddy. What I was saying, in a ladder game, if you're playing with Voldus, you want to play Voldus somewhat early if he's not in tremendous danger or if your bodyguards aren't able to do the mop-up themselves, because Voldus' psychic attack is quite high. And if you can give him a couple buffs playing bodyguards to give him that plus 20% psychic damage, it's absolutely worth it for him. It's reconnecting. Yeah, there we go. And then after this, we're going to go back to Acheran, and we're going to see what dregs we have left to play with. I think most of the Acheran deck I was using is still... No, it's not. I'll take another look at it. What I was thinking is it still has most of the parts, which is absolutely not true. And I may end up doing my final games with some terrible excuse for a deck with Artemis. Artemis is one of the better Space Marine Warlords, but not with this modifier, or these modifiers against that stuff. Because the thing is, they're very, very powerful, but they're not actually very expensive, and they don't have a ton of hit points. So Artemis's ability would be a little bit lackluster compared to the trade-off of permanently losing cards to trigger it. Alright, we're getting those. Let's see what we're doing. See how we're doing. Ooh, yeah, okay. So again, the 50, it would cost 150 reactor energy to get one copy of, what's his face? Arjak. So as long as you're still getting copies of Arjak, it's still, especially these last two, those are 100 plasma each. It's worth it to pay the 50 to recharge the campaign to get the shot to keep getting those. Even if you're losing in the campaign, I still recommend playing until you get all those copies of Arjak, because he's very good. Okay, this is where we are. Okay. Looking for shields, looking for fear. Let's look back at these fear cards. There's some really, really good fear cards that should perform well in this. What's he got? Yeah. Oh, goodness. We're probably going to end up with a weird range deck in the end, so we're going to go melee now. 36. Look at that. It's perfect. I think he actually got shields. Oh, yeah. It's weird to think, like, the cards I think of as having shields, if they have secondary traits now, I forget that they gain shields. So Belial is significantly more defensive than I remembered. So I should have put him in much earlier. But that's good, because it means I still have some powerful cards that I had underrated at the end here. If you're still with me, good job. Very proud of you. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. I apologize for the longer videos. And this is a weird one. I wouldn't usually run through an entire campaign like this live, but because of the battle scars, I don't expect to get all the way through it, even with recharging. But yeah, we'll see how long it goes. And I may run completely out of cards before I get all the copies of Arjak, and we'll have to call it. Which would be unfortunate, but could absolutely see it happening. Let's take down the shield first. And this max level fear is no joke. Especially, it's still Shazo, okay. Especially against these guys. Oh, look. Target acquired. First thing. It's good and bad. Good because it means I can drop a shield in front of that and not lose a card. So, good because it gets it out of the way early and I'm unlikely to get hit with it again later in the game. Bad because it starts me off significantly weakened. But I did have a shield card I couldn't put in front of it, and not even one of my kind of primary shield cards. So that's good. Wow, base damage 124. Dang! I should have put him, if you're still doing this, put him in your Logan deck early. Before you lose Logan. And this should be good. This guy is such a hard-hitting dude. Like, it is crazy. When you're playing max-level cards, it's easy to forget just how powerful some of these cards are in normal play. This guy, he's a tank. And there's no deck that doesn't benefit from having someone with that many hit points, that much fear, who hits that hard. He's really, really good. And the other advantage of that target acquired is it does keep some of the pressure off of my other cards for a little while, even if it means losing Tor's shields sooner than I would like. Man, those debuffs. Another kind of note here, when I was doing the secondary trait rankings, I definitely underrated Outflank. Because those debuffs are no joke, and the higher the attack value of the card, the more the debuff hurts, which, duh. But it's something that I'd underestimated the impact. It's still, of the secondary traits a card could have, it's one of the less exciting ones. It's not fear, it's not shields, it's not, psychic barrage. But it's still better than I rated it. So I did a lot of meh, where cards that were already really good, who you're going to take anyway, it's such a good bonus to have, even if it could have been more powerful, but just because they're a card you were running already, getting that outflank on top of what they already did is pretty spectacular. And this is still takes some getting used to. This is a brand new color because that's the combination of Berserk and Fear, those two aura colors playing on top of each other. This is the first card I think we could ever see that with. And that does, guy, he's epic with only rank 2 Fear, but he's a really scary card. And that, again, is the thing I love most about these max level campaigns, is getting to kind of see that in action and see just how scary some of these are. And also this combination of that Berserk and the super high melee attack and someone like Helbrecht, Tyberos is definitely a top tier card if you get him to max level. Which no one in the world should be surprised by, because we all kind of knew that. But jeez, and that's with Fear. Wow. So I'm likely to lose a few cards here, which I knew I was going to lose some eventually. I didn't expect to lose them in the first game. It's not shocking, I suppose. So Tyberos is going to live. He's going to shoot me, and then I'm going to absolutely murder him. But I did lose Tor, and I'm going to lose Mores. Gah, and that. I was impressed with like 140, now he's doing 230. Ooh, buddy, you are a truck. And so I don't want to play target acquired here because I want Tyberos to kill this guy so he doesn't die. And now, even though this is quote-unquote throwaway cards, this deck has proven to be more powerful and more durable than several of the others I ran earlier. So if you look at this and kind of mix it with what I ran before, you can kind of pull some cards out of some of the things I ran earlier and put this in there instead. Belial especially is a card I should have put in earlier, because he's really, really good with those shields. And at the 35 point price point, max Inspire. That's pretty good. I'm going to run that again, of course replacing these two cards, and we'll see how it goes. And then I'm going to end up again with that weird ranged Acheran thing, so let's see how it goes. Alright. Let's hope I don't lose Acheran himself anytime soon. Alright, those are all still really powerful. If I remember that the Interrogator Chaplain has target acquired, that will be good to know at some point later on. We're at the point where I'm going to start throwing in some taunts, just to insulate the cards I do have that I don't want to lose. He's pretty good at max. And I'm also keeping an eye out for epics and legendaries, most of which I've used, but because they're the ones that have those secondary traits. And the ones I want to see at max level. Ooh, nice. Okay, I'll throw you in there. 10. It's going to be weird filling in 10 points. What do we got? Well, try it. Since it's melee heavy, and I was talking about the power of outflank. Oh, he's got Furious Charge, okay. This is the guy I was thinking. Who has that ready ability, but he costs 11. Yeah, let's do it. This should do okay. Ragnar is really, really durable, but hit points alone aren't enough to keep someone alive. So he doesn't have fear, doesn't have shield, so I expect to lose him early, but hopefully not right away. And I'll try to play him a little bit later. There's that balance. You want to play him later so he doesn't die. You want to play him earlier so he builds up some of his berserk. We'll see how that goes. This guy is my ablative card. And even that is melee. Yeah. Alright, I'll play this early so I can chew through these guys fairly quickly. Yeah. What did I give you, buddy? So I'm going to lose my ablative card fairly early, but I do have my taunt card in here to protect some of these guys a little bit. There's that outflank on both of these. That's going to really reduce my damage. If not for that, this guy would comfortably have destroyed this dude over here, but he may awkwardly live with a little bit of hit points left over after this. And of course it's my turn first. Let's see, fingers crossed.